My name is Keith, and this is my story about my healing and deliverance. I believe it was about 2018. I was living in Michigan, and I was at the gym one day, and I was working out. I was trying to get into the police academy at the time, and I was pretty much at the end of my workout, and I was putting the weights away back on the rack, and I went to hang a 45-pound plate on the rack, and something just popped in my back, and I hit the ground, and I was in excruciating pain. So I kind of hobbled my way out to my truck, and I made it back to my apartment, and I called my father-in-law and said, "Man, you got to take me to the hospital. I can hardly breathe. I'm in so much pain." So my father-in-law basically had to pick me up and carry me out to his truck. We make it to the hospital. And I'm white-knuckling my hospital bed. I'm sweating bullets, and the nurse said, "Okay, well, I'm going to give you a shot of," she gave me a little bit of everything, Valium, Vicodin, a shot of something in my leg that I couldn't pronounce. And she said, "Okay, well, in 20 minutes you should be feeling fine. I'll be back." So she comes back about half an hour, and there's no change. And she looks at me, and she says, "Man, I can't do anything for you. If I give you any other meds, I'm going to risk lowering your heart rate. You got to go home. Best of luck." So I go home, and I'm just riding the struggle bus. And I finally make it. I think this happened on like a Friday or a Saturday, and that Sunday I go into church, and I can hardly walk. My wife has to help me in and out of the car. I'm still sweating bullets. I can't keep any food down. I'm in so much pain. Hurts to breathe. And I'm standing in the lobby of the church, and the doctor said, "Well, try not to sit down," because I couldn't bend my back at all. So I'm standing there just listening to the service over the speaker, and Brandon came up to me, and he kind of noticed something was up, and I kind of gave him the short version of it. And he said, "Well, man, the Bible says that we have the power to heal, and not many Christians really practice that part of the faith, but you know what, man, I'll pray for you if you want to give it a shot. I'm willing to do it. Let's go in the side room, and you never know, maybe something will happen." And I was in so much pain, I'd have done anything just to make the pain go away. So I said, "Oh yeah, absolutely, let's go." Not really thinking that, Jesus was going to fix my pain, but I was willing to try anything. I was hurting. And we went into the side room, and I think my brother-in-law was with me for this. And Brandon asked where the pain was at, and I kind of gave him the breakdown of where I was feeling pain, and I had pain running down both legs. I couldn't move. I couldn't turn. Pain when I was breathing in. Pain when I was exhaling. It was brutal. And he said, "Okay, so turn around for me." So I turned around, and we started praying. And Brandon, it was weird. I'd never had anyone pray with authority. And Brandon was talking like he actually believed this was going to work. And he commanded this healing. And I remember my eyes were closed, and I rocked back on my heels, and I got really angry, really quick. And it must have been noticeable. My brother-in-law was in front of me, and he kind of grabbed me and said, "Hey, man, you okay?" And I opened my eyes, and I'm standing there, and my elbows are cocked, my fists are clenched, and I'm up on the balls of my feet. And I look like I'm ready to snap at him. And I kind of collect myself, and Brandon says, "Okay, well, it takes an act of faith. Bend down and touch your toes." Now, I had not been able to move at all. And he said, "Bend down, touch your toes." And I said, "Well, all right, I'll give it a shot," and bent down, grabbed my toes. And I was fine. And I stood back up, and I looked at Brandon, and I thought, I got to be losing my mind. This can't be a thing. I couldn't move. I could hardly breathe. And I just touched my toes. And he looked at me and said, "Well, how do you feel now?" I said, "I'm still kind of stiff." And he said, "Okay, well, let me pray for you again." So we go through the whole gambit again. He prays, and same thing with authority and confidence. And he says, "All right, man, walk around the table." And I'm doing high knees around the table. I'm bending and twisting. I'm trying to throw my back out. Now, I can't believe that I'm pain-free. It's gone. I went from probably a 9.5 or a 10 on the pain scale to a half, 1, if that. And so I'm doing deadlifts. I'm picking up chairs and stuff in this little back room in the church, and my brother-in-law is just standing there laughing at me, and no more pain. I walked into church, sat down right next to the wife, and she's kind of looking at me kind of crazy, and I haven't had a problem since. And I'd always had back problems. I thought it was something I was just going to have to deal with. I got hurt when I was in the Army. Nothing. I still go to the gym regularly. I haven't had any close calls. My back hasn't given me any problems. Everything's been good to go since then. So that happens at church, and we leave church, me and the wife, we go back home, and I don't think it was that night, I think it was the next night. I had, for lack of a better term, it was I don't know, like a vision. It was realer, it felt more real than a dream. And in this dream, I'm in a crowd of people, and it's kind of, if you've ever seen the movie Fallen, I think it was called, it kind of portrays a demon that can pass from touch. You know, so somebody would reach out and touch someone next to them, and the demon would pass to that person. There's a decent movie. I think Denzel Washington was in it, but that's kind of what my dream is like. I'm in a crowd, and there's something in the crowd, and I get this real dark impression that something's watching me, but it's not watching me with any kind of good intent. And I spot somebody in the crowd, and the person looks at me, and they're really looking at me hard. And I'm kind of looking back, and then they reach out to someone in front of them, some stranger, and they touch them, and then that person turns around and starts glaring at me. And then they reach out and touch someone, and they touch someone, and all of a sudden I'm doing this circle, watching all of these people just really stare at me, and they're getting closer and closer and closer, and I'm getting keyed up for a fight. And in the background of this, I'm kind of semi-conscious, and I feel something grab me, and I assume it was my wife. And I kind of moved in bed a little bit, and it wasn't her grabbing me, and as surely as I sit here today, something grabbed me. And I kind of just shrugged it off as, man, it's just something weird and whatever, and I go back to sleep. And then the dream, it kind of changed a little bit, and I'm in my room, and my wife, who's one of the sweetest people I've ever met, who doesn't have a violent bone in her body, is attacking me. And I'm sitting on my bed, and I'm crying, fighting off my wife, trying to, kind of cover up as she's just trying to land these bombs on me. And I'm begging and pleading with my wife, just stop, 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 stop. And I finally, I kind of grab her, and I kind of like throw her off of me. And she bounces off the bed and off the other edge. And at the edge of the bed is just pitch black. I can't see anything. But I hear her hit the floor. And I hear her start to cry. And at this point, I'm really freaked out that I've just been involved in this domestic. And I hear my wife crying, and as I go over to the edge of the bed to try to console my crying wife, she starts to laugh. And it's not my wife's laugh. And it just froze me right there. And something clicked. And that was okay, kid, you're hip to the game now. We know you know we're watching you. The game is now changed. You can't, it's like the wool has been pulled from in front of my eyes. Now there's no more excuse. I can't claim ignorance anymore. And I got the very distinct impression that this was somebody that did not wish me well, letting me know that the fight is on now. We're going to take off the gloves. And the next night after that, my wife had a very, very similar dream. Not quite as violent as mine was, or as scary as mine was, but it was really similar. It was right along the same lines. And ever since then, that kind of opened our eyes to that the word is definitely real, and there's definitely more that goes on behind the scenes that we can't physically see. But I think if you start to pay attention, you kind of start to see how things are changing, and how the word can really move and really affect life. It definitely changed my perspective.
Do you remember right after you were healed what I told you, that I thought a spirit of anger got kicked out and that was causing the pain, and expect him to come back and retake that ground, and to prepare yourself for that? Do you remember that?
I do remember that. That definitely, I think that was part of the thing where, like, I got so agitated when you had first prayed. And I think I saw that a lot in my marriage, where we would kind of fight a lot, or I would feel a lot of tension. And ever since then, that tension just disappeared. And we fight like any normal married couple now, but it's not near the extreme that it was. It's on a completely different level, where now looking back on it now, I can definitely see that there was something kind of tilting the scale in one direction, and now that has left. And the wife and I, knowing that was there, knowing that spirit of anger might come back, we're kind of cognizant of that, and so it's definitely changed how we think about things and how we communicate. If you're on the lookout for it, you'll see it coming.
Yeah, when those demons get kicked out against their will, quite often they manifest. They manifest what they are. So when you felt that rage and that anger, that was him more or less throwing a temper tantrum on his way out.
Yeah.
So that's why it didn't surprise me that you were having those dreams and this thing was trying to come back and retake the ground that you had taken back, but you stuck to it. How has this changed you? You mentioned briefly that you look at things a little differently now, maybe through more spiritual eyes rather than carnal eyes.
Yeah.
Can you kind of go more in depth on that?
It changed me in the sense that I have excuse me, I have seen the word physically work. I have felt its effect, and so I look at it now as like a playbook on how a boxer goes into a fight with a game plan. Right? He knows that this plan is going to work because he's been sparring, and he's had the experience in the ring. If I can kind of use that to, I don't know, give a good example of it. So now my faith is practice in the ring. I know it works because I've been hit before, and because I've gone in the ring, and luckily I had somebody there who could pray with me and actually pull me out of that fight and win. So I know I'm not subject to, I don't have to lose every battle anymore. There's not, it's not this, oh, poor, pitiful me, the world is out to get me. I can't change anything, it's just how it is. That's not a thing anymore. So whether it's an injury or a sickness or a problem with a relationship, I know now that that's just a different ring that I'm in. It's still the same fight. It's just a different, different canvas, and that the word is how I'm going to win, and the word is going to keep me kind of going in that cycle where it's just more real. It's not the lukewarm kind of hands-off Christian-y feel that I got from modern Western churches. So it hits a little bit closer to home now. It feels more personal.
So did it prove to you that the word is true?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I say that coming from the perspective of I didn't think anything was going to happen. I thought I was just going to go in there, let this guy pray, and I didn't really care what happened as long as the pain went away. So it wasn't like I was going in there, beating somebody over the head with my Bible. And I just wanted the pain to stop, and I'd have done anything anybody had told me to do just to make the pain go away. And then all of a sudden it worked, and it was instantaneous. I didn't have to wait. I didn't have to donate money to somebody's cause. It had happened right then and there. And that was the real eye-opener, like, okay, just showing up and I get the results. Now I'm a true believer.
By proving the word is true, did it increase your faith, you think?
Yeah, I think it increased my faith, definitely. I think it made me a lot more comfortable with my faith. I think it made it more real to me, and it wasn't, my faith became something that, and I grew up in the church, so I'd always gone to church because my parents had made me go, and I kept going as an adult because that's what I'd always done. But it kind of made it obvious to me that now I've got skin in the game, and it made me a lot more comfortable with expressing my faith because I know it works now. So I didn't worry about the finer details of things now. It changed my perspective on what really matters.
And I know you mentioned that after the deliverance and the healing, this demon tried to come back at you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still having those problems? How long did that last?
I think I had like a little nightmare, maybe the first night, and then that big one came at me, and I told the wife about it the next day, and she said, you know, it's weird you mentioned that. I had a real similar dream. And we prayed about it, and we kind of kept up with our prayer, and we were just support for each other. And that was really pretty much the end of it. We try definitely now, as time goes on, I don't want to be lazy or fall back into my old ways, so you really do need to capture your train of thought and how you communicate and what you allow your mind to focus on. So when you focus on the word, I use that as knowing that this evil spirit or this demon is trying to find a way in. Makes me more conscious of, I need to kind of bolster my defenses and make sure that I don't give him an easy way in. And my wife has been a great help in keeping me on the straight and narrow with that, and I can do the same for her. But really that nightmare that hit me and the wife, that was the one real big one. Where we both felt attacked, and after that it's been real easy going. Every now and then we might have like a stressful day or something, and and my wife might tell me like, hey, why don't you read your Bible a little bit or something? You seem kind of off. If when's the last time you read? When's the last time you prayed? And so we can I know if I slip up for a couple of days and I skip reading my Bible, or I skip praying, I see that I get more agitated, I get more frustrated. And I can kind of see myself going down this road, but knowing that that's my default, it's easier for me to catch myself going down that road. And like I said, the wife is a big help. It's a team effort.